This episode of Skirmish Supremacy is brought to you by Reformation Brewery, the official beer of your game night.
Starting. Oh, we're live. Exciting. I guess I figured I was doing this intro. Did you want to do it, Tim?
No, you have control of the clicky button, so it's all you.
Oh, it's all me because I clicked the button. I clicked the button, people. Yay! Exciting. And welcome to episode 97 of Skirmish Supremacy Podcast. I am Nick Bogart, one of the hosts here. Joining us tonight is our ever-lovable and funny-looking Tim Korkleski.
Hello, folks. Yes, I am very funny-looking. Face for radio.
He hasn't shaved his head in a while, so, it's even more funny-looking. And joining us tonight, all the way from England, is Joe Salah from Lucid Eye Publications.
I thought you were going to call me funny looking then, so I was getting a bit apprehensive. But yeah, yeah, I'm here in spirit.
Here in spirit. We've only been talking a few minutes, so I'm not going to call you funny looking yet. That's for post production.
We'll give it a few more minutes, yeah.
Yeah, just a few. I mean, we're already reaching the limit, but regardless, so. Joe has embarked on a whole bunch of things. To start off with, though, you've got your Savage Core series of miniatures out. Those have been out for a couple years now, and Warlord carries them.
Warlord originally carried the range. They were sculpted by my father, Steve Salah. This was when he was working at Warlord. He did the range, and they took it on. When he left Warlock Games, he saw no reason to take the range, build on it, because I always sort of had plans to do rules for it. So when we did that, we wanted the range to sell, obviously, as well. So we built on that, and we have done, and we've got an expansion for it now. It's called Age of Ice, and we're building on that still. And, we released quite a lot of stuff, over 6 codes a month. We got some more stuff out last week. We had some new sort of Project Stern, which is sort of the ray gun Nazi dudes. So, yeah, I mean, it's an ever-growing range. We're looking to have the expansion, the Age of Ice stuff out this year as well, which is the plan.
Awesome. And that's a Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of weird World War II game.
Sure. So the Savage Core is sort of a pulp skirmish-based game. It's very much Journey to the Center of the Earth themed. You've got that sort of literary 1920s references under the Earth. It's sort of set in that era. So you've got all that stuff going for it. You've got your lost treasure hunters. You've got your lost world of Atlantis, Atlanteans and whatnot. All the factions are rooted in that sort of mythology to a point. And but with the expansion, we've gone a bit more fantasy themed. But yeah, no, I would agree. Yeah, it's a pulp setting, centered to the Earth. So that's sort of the initial surroundings of the game.
Okay, and then Tim and I were talking about it. Just talking about all of them. One of the ones that I thought was really neat that's coming up is Treasures from the Cosmic Vault.
Yeah. So have you guys seen the mini?
Uriel.
Yeah, Uriel from Sands of Time. Yeah. So so we're trying to do something a bit different with the lines. We're trying to go in different directions rather than having your sort of skirmish-based games for all of them. We're trying to play with the idea of permadeath and sort of gladiatorial combat on Titan for that game. So essentially what's going to happen is there's going to be a specific number of minis coming out. We're thinking 6. And and it's going to all be based on character progression and sort of gladiatorial combat. So when your character is dead, he's written off. You're going to have to rewrite him. You're going to have to come back. You're going to have to stat up. So each sort of battle you win, you'll plunder the treasures of the cosmic vault, as it were. So you would sort of, it's character progression in that way. So there's that feature of that sort of role-playing perspective as well, what we're trying to instill in it. That's why we're trying to keep a limited amount of miniatures so that when we actually get them out, we can actually establish the game fast and get everyone playing, essentially, and then move on from there. But that's sort of the premise of that. So each Titan, gladiator as such, is going to hail from a different part of the solar system. So we're looking at the next one coming from Saturn. Uriel's home planet of Titan is where the game is based on Titan. So we're building around that concept. It's very science fantasy, sort of Rosetta themed in that sense. So it's got all that going for it. But yeah, that's the game, sort of a rundown as to what it is.
All right. And then the one that Tim and I were kind of laughing at and looking at was the plot device, Citizens of a Far Out Dimension.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Go on, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so the plot device, we started that in the same structure as Savage Core, which is basically quite a heavy release schedule of bringing codes out monthly. The plot device is sort of a pan-dimensional alternative history. It's got its own sort of theme, 70s psychedelia sort of. In Britain, it's very much British, as it were, British psychedelia. So we started on that premise, and we like the plot device. It sort of gives it a narrative sense of a name. And we've just built that up in the same fashion as Savage Core. So we do the factions, the bosses, the bods, and we're going to be bringing out a rule set pretty soon for that as well. It's going to be different from Savage Core. With each line, we want to play about something new, essentially. So we just like to go in between the cracks and try stuff new, really. So it will be a skirmish-based game, but it's been pushed back a bit in relation to the rules because we've been working with Rick Priestley recently on our new stuff. But yeah, so the plot device. I mean, what have you guys got any questions about the plot device, or is it just something you sort of found interesting? Or
well, I found it interesting. I liked the Ultra Teens.
Yeah,
for some ultra reasons.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, I think my dad did a great job on the teens. I prefer the second lot. Not to say the first lot aren't great, but we like the teens. We've got some more Suburbanauts, which are the cowboy dudes, if you've seen Clinton Shroud's guys. We've got some more of those bods coming. We're going to follow the same structure. We're going to have 2 packs of bods and a boss. So we like that because realistically, it doesn't force people to buy a great deal to get playing. And, they can always buy multiple packs. So, yeah, we're working on that, essentially. Suburbanauts will be the next Cowboys.
Yeah, I noticed that was kind of your pattern across all the lines, that you have like 1 or 2 bosses or leaders, and then 1 or 2 different packs of, as you call them, bods, where you just kind of your typical line troops.
Sure. So we like the idea, as you mentioned, Tim, of having a boss, a leader as such, and just building off it. Because from a sculpting perspective as well, and this is more, my dad's area of expertise, but to work around the bods as like something that is thematically correct and then produce a leader works quite well from a sculpting perspective as well. Just releasing a generic pack for the factions and then working sort of a flavorful leader from that. So yeah, we like that. We're going to do it with the Red Book of the Elf King, the new fantasy game as well. We're going to. Have you seen the figure, the Salian Trollblood?
Yes, it looks absolutely freaking amazing.
Oh, fantastic! I'm glad you like it, then, honestly, mate. Yeah, we will have another one. Touch wood. I'm actually touching wood in January, and the companions, which are going to follow suit, like the bods, Tim. They're going to be sort of elf infantry, as it were, and they're going to come out in January. We're trying to get another Thane, as we call them, as well for January. So yeah, and then we're looking at just pumping the rules out as soon as possible to do so in the new year as well.
Excellent. Yeah, no, the Elf King is one of the first ones I stumbled over, a couple weeks ago as you started posting them up, and I was like, what is this? Where did he come from? Because he is amazing.
Yeah, that's not actually the Elf King. That's one of the things. We're going to do an Elf King as well, but we're keeping that under wraps for now because we've got some ideas for how we want it to be. We want it to be quite stand out in that respect. But yeah, the Thanes are all going to have their own flavour, their own sort of. They're all, embedded in sort of Celtic mythology in that sense, as you've seen with the armour and whatnot. Very magic, glamour-based magic, what we call it. It's got its own flavour, and it's just elf civil war essentially. So there's elf kingdoms. It's sort of the end of days, as it were, and there's revolt. So we're basing it heavily on these families, these circles, as to that have split off in the Elf King's demise. So there's a lot of flavour we're going to instill in it, and you'll find out a lot as we sort of release the Thanes and the minis throughout the months. We'll add a lot of flavour to it as well. But yeah, I'm really chuffed you like the mini, which is great.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The moment I saw it up and just its stance and everything, it has that look of like nobility, but at the same time, you could tell that he is built for war.
Yeah, that's completely correct. We tried to with the Thanes, as you'll see as they come out, we don't really like the overly dynamic poses for the sake, because in miniature, I don't think it works. I think how you just described it is sort of how it needs to be. It needs a pose, it needs its own drama and it needs its own nobility, but it needs to, look like it can carry its weapon essentially. So, the poses are important. We personally don't like a guy just swinging his sword around,
right.
Not to
they want to look like they have a purpose outside of just standing there with like their limbs everywhere, standing on one foot.
Of course. I mean, we see the minis. The minis are avatars. They represent what's going on the board. So you need a dramatic pose essentially, and it's more enjoyable to paint, I think. I mean, I don't know, but that's sort of how we look at it.
Right. Yeah, it definitely it's one of those things that I've noticed over the years that like it started off where miniatures were very single piece static poses, and then as they kind of went, they evolved, and then it got to the point to where over the course of the last few years we've seen absolutely crazy poses, like stuff spinning around models like standing on one foot looking like they're just swinging blades in every direction, and now they're starting to move back in I guess in the dynamics, not so much that they're losing detail, they're just moving back in the dynamics to what's a little bit more practical.
Yeah. I mean, because Infinity is one of the best examples of that whole 1 foot thing. And what's everyone's complaint? Infinity is on 1 foot. Great looking models, but that 1 foot, just makes it so much harder. I definitely love a model that is standing there and is standing there. They are solid. There is some action, shown in what their stance is, but it's not so much so that they're just impossible to work with.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would describe what we do with the minis is sort of more minimalistic in relation to that, like you guys were saying. It's more about the shape, I think, personally. If the shape's strong and it's fun to paint, that's what we try and aim for. So yeah,
absolutely. Because even looking through some of your lines, like even looking through the Savage Core stuff, your Jaguar tribe, like they're all obviously very Aztec based in their look, and there's lots of spines and feathers and things like that. But it's not. None of them are doing anything that's like ridiculously over the top to where it's like, okay, I need to get under this armpit and in this cleft in order to get this little bit of whatever. Like the models still have a lot of vibrancy to them that really lends the models well, and it also makes it a little bit. It makes it easier to paint. For in my perspective, when you don't have to sit there and worry about every tiny little nook and cranny in the model. Same thing with the Atlanteans. I was looking at those, and those are the ones that really stuck out. You've got great looking armor, you've got great looking shields, but they look like a proper soldier force. Like even the Crixos boss, he's not doing anything crazy. He's just standing there with the shield and a sword out to his side. And you can tell it's like, okay, he's got authority and he's also a badass.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're trying to do. And there's another thing a point you mentioned about the painting. Miniatures in the broad sense. This is more of a sales perspective, but miniatures in the broad sense that are scary to paint. People don't want to screw up. They don't want to buy them and screw up. So, there has to be that paintability factor, and I think that's an important factor that is forgotten sometimes. That's just my personal opinion on it.
And it's true. I've got Arena Rex living in a box, nice and safe. They're assembled. I've been too scared to paint them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do love the the accessibility factor that
sure
that they all have been lent in your lines. In that,
so, yeah, sorry, Nick, go ahead.
I was gonna just bring around this last one, the Beast of Birchwood.
Sure.
This is Tim's favorite.
Horror.
So
horror.
Is there anything you want me to talk about in particular about it, or would you just like me to run?
Go ahead and just run through it.
Sure thing. So basically, we're moving again with this line. We're trying to, because Lovecraft's big at the moment, and we all know that. And there's loads of games of Lovecraft, and we sort of sat down and we were like, we want a horror sort of dreamscape game. We don't want to go down that route. Now, there's nothing wrong with going down that route if you want to go down that route. But what we thought as such was, Victorian horror narrative, in Britain, that's been missed a bit because I don't think it's been done. I don't know if it's been done. I haven't seen much of it, but I don't know if it's been done properly. So we sort of pulled out all these tropes. We made it sort of a dreamscape thing, and we're going to have it as more of an RPG setting-based game with miniatures, and we're going to have a map with it. So there's going to be points and landmarks on the map, sort of key landmarks, whereby you can go to and you can meet various characters that you guys might have seen. Some of the characters that have come out from Beast of Birchwood, those characters act as helpers or hinderers. So essentially, up to the discretion of what we like to call the dreamer, the narrator, they will either fulfill the function of helping you or hindering you. So naturally, those characters you encounter could be good or they could be bad, dependent on the game you play. So it's got quite a few complex features, but you can't make miniatures scary, right? They look silly. If you try too hard, I don't know. You guys might have miniatures that are scary. I haven't seen any personally. So we tried to have it more just odd, because there's that line there of when the unknown is, that's odd, that's freaky. I can't make a toy soldier scary. So we're trying to fulfill it with the setting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And the thing I noticed with this is that, kind of touching upon what you said, like the Lovecraftian mythos, is that these definitely have that Victorian era look where it's like, even looking at like the sleeping field mouse or the sleeping hare, where it's like the miniatures aren't like over the top or like massively sadistic, or even like Mother Matilda the Blind Nun. It's like they look just off enough where you could paint them to be, good guys or bad guys. You can make them look like whatever you want, but they've got just enough of a look to them that where it's like, okay, these are not like normal, well-adjusted folks.
Yeah. No, I am. So I'm glad you got that, and I'm glad it's hit on the point whereby you do get that by just looking at them, because that's really what we're aiming for. Just being just off, just a bit odd, just wanting to know more about the mini, and that will come through the setting, which we hope to achieve. So that's the route we've taken with those minis, just being off to a point, and having that sort of Victorian-esque theme poking through as well. But yeah, that's, Beast of Birchwood it's getting there. It's getting there. The rules are getting there. It's been quite heavy undergoing. I thought it'd be quite, off the cuff, but the more you delve into it and the more it's a new system, you know, it opens up loads of doors left, right, and centre. So in terms of a system, I think it will be pretty unique. I'm hoping so. But we're trying something new there, hopefully.
Yeah, I definitely understand that, because you said it's definitely more of like a miniatures RPG hybrid. Like, it's more RPG than miniatures.
Yes. Miniatures act as the placeholders for the setting and the story, if that makes sense. Now, we're going to release a beast miniature, because the whole idea of the Beast of Birchwood is there is, you know, these weird undertakings and what's happening within this town of Birchwood. And it all stems from said beast. We've decided what the beast will look like, and it's going to be quite off and quite odd. I won't spoil it for you guys now, but, you know, I'm looking forward to people's reaction, essentially. But yeah, so it's, you know, when you've eliminated the Beast of Birchwood, that's the completion of said campaign, really. It's like a campaign, like a one-shot. You can play it differently each time, because there'll be different things that happen. You know, you can use them for helpers. If you want a hard game, you know, say there's 8 helpers, you know, 6 out of 8 of them might be hinderers. And, you know, once you're out, you're out. You wake up, essentially. So we're going for that. I want to make the game hard, because I don't feel like there is a lot of hard games available at the moment. And that's sort of what we want to do with it. That's just my personal. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside of like some really heavy Euros, there's not a lot for challenging games.
Sure.
But the one thing I wanted to say about this that I really commend you on is the fact that you are going Victorian horror, but it's not steampunk.
Yeah.
Because every time people think Victorian, that's the first thing they go to is steampunk.
Yeah. It's easy to go steampunk in the sense we haven't avoided it as such. We've tried to skirt around the outskirts, but there are steampunk elements in the plot device, as you've probably seen. But with the Beast of Birchwood, you know, steampunk isn't. It's you know, it's great. It's something in itself, but it's a genre in itself now. There's no point delving into steampunk for the sake of commerciality and going into steampunk. We want to make something new with Birchwood, so we've avoided it as such. We're not touching it. It's more of like a dreamscape Victorian horror. So we're pulling on Victorian tropes, you know, the weird costumes, the archetypal Victorian character, to try and get something new out of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I dig it. So as far as this goes, like, the one thing that you kind of said in the beginning is that every single one of these games will be different in their own way. So you're not working off of like a core system. You're literally designing rules from the ground up for every single one of these games.
Yes. So Tim, basically how it worked is when we did Savage Core, I thought to myself, and this was partly me being lazy, to be honest. I go, okay, so we've got the system. Now, when you've got the system, this is great. What we'll do is reskin it. It doesn't work like that. As you guys are probably aware, you run into your own problem. You run into its own problems, and you want to make things better. You know, there's a natural instinct, as I'm sure with all you guys. You know, you can't be satisfied with just doing the same thing. You know, it's not fulfilling. So we need to make the next thing better. Now, how we do that is we don't just take one system and keep doing the same game. We want to make each line its own game and its own system, because I think that's more worthwhile in the long run. In doing something like that. So we're really trying to push new ways of making a game, really. And I don't want to sound too, you know, artsy-fartsy about it. It's just how we want to portray the lines, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, we've got these 5 lines, and the Elf King is being written by Rick Priestley at the moment. And he's absolutely fantastic. We've done all the flavor and the setting and the narrative, and he's come along because he originally wanted to do a fantasy system, and we had a chat with the guy, and he really liked the project, so he wanted to do it, and he's got this new system for it, and we've just had a recent interview in War Games Illustrated where we'll talk about the system, but he's fantastic. I can't sing his praises enough. and we're really looking forward to releasing the system. And we're going to have a nice book for it and everything, and really step up in production value for that project. I think it's important to anyway. But yeah,
nice.
But that would be your Skirmish system. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no problem. I was going to say, so every game is completely different. There's no similarities in systems between either one. So if you've played Savage Core, it's not like you could go in and dive into Beast of Birchwood, for example, because the system's totally different.
Sure. So we want to, we want to give people, because we have 5 lines, not everyone's going to like every line. We understand that and appreciate that. But we need the scope to be able to do what we want as well. So with these 5 lines, it sort of gives us a gateway to produce what we want to produce when we want to produce it. So, feed one line if we want to do some pulp stuff, if we want to do some science fantasy-based stuff, Treasure of the Cosmic Vault. If we want to do our high fantasy, more literary-based stuff, we can go Elfkin. Because then it's not like, you're stunting the creativity of what you want to do at the time. It's just like feeding those lines. In the same sense, we want to go in a different direction with each line to just keep it fresh and keep it new. And, one line might really take off and be popular, and one line might not. That's the thing, isn't it? One of them's going to sell the least, and one of them's going to sell the best, and one of them's going to be the most popular, and one of them's not. But, you've got to have them in the first place to be able to do that. Right,
exactly. So, yeah. Nice. Yeah, so I definitely like the fact that all the lines look a little bit different. You're doing something different with all the lines, but obviously with Savage Core being your biggest line right now, the one that's got the most viewership.
Yeah.
How has the reception of it been as far as gaming tournaments or gaming conventions and things like that? Like, what is the biggest thing that people always when they look at Savage Core? What's the big takeaway that they always get from it?
So I was thinking about this the other week, and when we made Savage Core isn't a tournament game. It's to the generation of the tricks, the randomness. It's just not a tournament game, and it never intended to. But it's, I think it's a fantastic game. And when I speak to people, what they say is, I played this with my son, I played this with my daughter, and I originally sort of thought, okay, cool, I guess. And then I sort of sat down, and the more people who said it, I was like, that's actually pretty cool. I'm glad that that's happened, and I'm glad there's got that response whereby it's simple enough, and that it's pulp enough, and the terminology is again. And we actually got some stick for the terminology being ingrained in the mechanics, but I think I'll stand by that, because with our games, what we like to do is we like to make the flavor and the narrative as part of the game, and that's what we did with Savage Core, and it was a bit of a labor of love. It turned into, slave labor essentially, because it got to the point where you just hate looking at it because it took so long. But no, yeah, that's what I would give as a takeaway. It's people playing it with other, their family, and them just saying they love the minis, because they use the minis for everything, to be honest, as well. So
right. I definitely want to grab the Jaguar tribe for Ghost Archipelago, as well as
sure.
Savage Core itself. I saw those. Actually, I was looking for guys, Native American looking guys that had the clubs with the shards of obsidian in it.
Yeah.
The Mako deal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't ever remember the name. Plus, I can't pronounce it, so it's club with obsidian shards.
Well, are you on about the character, the Skull Cloud, or are you just the Jaguar tribe?
Well, and so your Jaguar tribe has it all. Like it was like, boom, hey, that's what I was looking for.
Sure. That's interesting you say that. It's so funny with states and whatnot. Everything sells, differently depending on the region. And I know I say that's funny and it's not funny, but it's just the contrast of opinion is quite startling on stuff, because people go mad for the simians. And I spoke to my dad about the simians, and he said, yeah, they're all right. But,
I love the simians, but then again, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, monkeys. Actually,
Exactly.
Tim, did you see in the characters for, and I meant to point this out a little bit ago, did you see in the characters for the plot device, or the encounters, not the characters, but the encounters, they have a monkey in there too?
Sure.
Yes, I did.
They,
Already looked at it.
yes. It's
Yeah, we got a monkey top hat in the plot device, so yeah.
Now what I'm hoping, like in the Cosmic Vault, for that character, they slipped a lizard in on the guy's base. I'm hoping whoever comes from America, they slip a monkey in there. I'm liking the trend. There seems to be like monkeys working their way into all their games. These people are our kind of people.
Yeah,
exactly.
We originally thought, wouldn't it be so cool if we had the simians in every game in their own sort of alternate reality? And then we were like, dude, it can only wait for so long before people get sick of it. But I guess you guys are contrary to that opinion.
Blunder monkey can never be wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go. But yeah, the next.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like most of the games I've played, like even going back to AT-43, if you remember that game, widely popular for a long time. But I played the Carmins, which were basically Gorilla Grodd.
Sure.
So like, anytime there's a game that has apes or anything of the sort, gorillas, apes, monkeys,
so
I'm usually all over it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Days.
Yeah, the next Cosmic Vault dude, talking about a guy from Earth. We're going to do a guy from Earth for the next guy. So we're playing around with some ideas from that. So get a monkey on his shoulder,
somewhere.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. I've got one.
There you go. That's all you need. Interest, right?
But yeah.
We've been slowly building up everyone's fan of monkeys with everything. Monkeys everywhere.
So as far as the release schedule goes on all this, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
So I was gonna go back to the Beast of Birchwood for a minute there. Just to point out that the out of all the figures in there, the Dreamers are the ones in the animal suits, aren't they?
Yeah. We spoke about this prior, didn't we, Nick?
Yeah, a little bit. That's why I said it was going to be Tim's favorite game.
Yeah, because you said Tim had an aversion to the furries, and he was like, "Don't spoil it." And I was like, I can't because they're not furries. I was getting defensive, and I was like, I was like getting triggered by it. So I was like, oh, yeah, they're just dudes in Victorian sort of animal suits, and we've just pulled from that. So it's just weird and odd. But yeah, they are. We can have the four playable characters are sort of in these weird Victorian headdresses. We've got the field mouse. We've got let's hope I remember. We've got the field mouse, the fox. We've got a badger coming, and then we got the hare. Yeah, so 4. And then the playable sort of characters, and they each come with their own sort of tropes, as it were, and stats, and obviously, stuff that are detrimental to that.
I think you missed one of the ones coming out for Beast of Birchwood, because I didn't hear monkey in there.
Oh, monkey. Well, we were toying with the idea of doing like a teddy bear, and we thought that'd be quite cool, but that might become later. But a monkey, it's just not very Victorian, but I guess we could squeeze it in there somehow. We'll have to have a look.
If there's a way to get a furry monkey in there, Tim's your man.
There's a will, there's a way. We'll talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah, the teddy bear thing, I could definitely see that as like a giant monster, because I just thinking back to teddy bears and like creepy games or things like that. Obviously, there's Teddy from Malifaux, which I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it somewhat. But I think the one that freaked me out the most growing up, like if you've ever seen Akira,
yeah,
where he's in the hospital. Yeah, and at first it's just a normal sized teddy bear that gets up and starts walking around, and then it grows, and it doesn't really get sinister, but it's just got this look to it, like, okay, now that I am this size, I can crush you.
It's cutting that line, isn't it? we were playing with that idea. The reason we picked those 4 to get started with were mainly flavor and stat based, because they each have, your badgers are fairly violent, foxes are cunning, field mouses, they're quite guileful and sly, and obviously the hare is agile. So we sort of played with those tropes to make it, I'm trying to do a new mechanic in relation to what can be done with each character, sort of thing, in the game. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, there's no reason to not do something with a bear based, which is what we were looking at as well.
Right. So as far as you kind of go back to Beast of Birchwood, you said there's going to be other monsters. It's not just the beast, but also other monsters he creates or it creates.
So because it's sort of a dreamscape environment, it's all odd. So the characters it's sort of like almost childlike. You've got your teacher, you've got your nun, you've got your doctor. So they're sort of, the reason it's quite freaky as well, I'd like to believe, is because these are figures of authority, as it were. So you have figures of authority that can either help or hinder you. So the whole idea is they are inhabitants of the town, of Birchwood, as it were. And what stems from this town is the evil, as it were, the weird, is from the Beast of Birchwood. Now, these characters, as you play each time in the setting, will either help or hinder you. So they could help and they could hinder, but they're all unnervingly weird to the point where you just don't know.
Right, until you interact with them.
Of course, you interact with them. They're characters. They have their own stats. So they're all valuable in relation to the game. They have their own items and everything. But right. So that's where they fit in. They're sort of, archetypal characters which can either help or hinder you through your quest, as it were, through Birchwood.
Right. Yeah.
So how does that system work? Because they're there, and so is it a random roll or chart or card pull?
How it works is those characters will have innate actions that they will perhaps carry out if they are a helper or hinderer. Okay, so the randomization would come through, how you would have sort of a DM, as it were, what we like to refer to as a dreamer, which side they will fall on. Okay, so they will have their own stats and their own actions, and that will follow through as the game takes place, if that makes sense. So they will have multiple sets of actions, where be it if they are helping or hindering. So it can change, and that's what we wanted to do, or I wanted to do, is make it so that it actually had replay value. Because I like the idea of one-shots and settings in RPG games, but it needs to be different each time, and I like that. And that's sort of how they function as those pieces, basically on your quest to eliminate, said beast. Which there will be a figure for that.
Okay, and so you've got your players, and then you've got somebody who is playing the role of a game master with it.
Sure. So this. Go on. Sorry.
I'm just trying to follow it through. Just on so there's somebody who chooses that those encounter people. If they're going to hinder you or help you, or there's something laid out in that when they go to start, it says this many are going to hinder or help.
Yes,
and
so it will be down to the discretion of the dreamer, as it were. So they would set up the game and the narrative. So those characters, as such, will perform the actions that was intended by the dreamer, if that makes sense. The playing characters are called the sleepers. So it is that sort of RPG narrative-based game with the elements of the minis and a system stemming from that. We're going to get a map printed with the landmarks on. So, you might go to a landmark in one game and the character might not be there. So it's up to the discretion of the dreamer how it plays out. Now, one of the characters is going to be the beast, but you don't know. Essentially,
right?
Oh, okay.
So one of them's the beast in disguise.
Yeah. So one of them will always be the beast in disguise.
Nice. That makes it even, I mean, that really hits on the horror side of it, because then you're always like, can I actually trust this character?
Yeah.
Because even though your character in the game, or what your avatar may not know that one of these people can't be trusted.
Yeah.
Player knowledge is a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the dreamer will set it up differently each time, it will be fun to play each time, given that you're always in that circumstance.
Nice.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this one.
Nice.
So now, will the dreamer be able to make everyone a hinderer?
This is the thing. So if you want to make the game really hard, there's no reason why not. Why that shouldn't be the case.
All right. So I know if Tim GM's what he's doing, so I just know not to trust anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that's
Done.
There you go.
Made the game so much simpler.
Yeah.
Kill them all.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you engage, if you're trying to kill one who's a helper, you've missed out, and health and all this stuff is rare to come by. So your decisions are vital in the process, because if you get to the beast, with half the sleepers down, who've woken up, and you've made bad decisions, it could go pear-shaped at the end. So I like that feeling of narrative each time, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, no, definitely. It sounds great, especially since there is that, that bit more of control. I'm choosing who they are. There may be some randomization on how they act, but, you as the player versus me as the GM, you don't know what exactly I've done. So, it's the horror element. Now you're always going, can I actually trust this, or is it going to, hinder me?
Sure.
All right, and Tim, you were saying something a minute ago, so.
Well, what I was getting at is that, so you don't know who the beast is right off the bat. And I know we keep touching a lot on Beast of Birchwood, but again, there's a lot there. So with that, you don't know who the beast is right off the bat. So just because somebody's hindering you doesn't mean that they're necessarily the beast. So there's a lot of balance as to how you need to work that. Because yes, they might be a hindrance, but at the same time, that doesn't rule them out as like the one person that could be helping you could be the beast.
No, yeah, exactly. There's a lot to do. That's why the rules as such are almost there. I'm going back over them and sort of seeing what needs to fit and how it needs to work. But it's almost like we want to get out the figures so we can get the game out, basically.
Yeah, I understand.
Gotcha.
So,
sorry. It'll be clearer when I can release a bit more information, if that makes sense. I don't mean to confuse you guys by like withholding it. It's just when you actually see it, if it makes sense, it will sort of click.
Right, definitely. And no, I'm intrigued. The horror aspects are there. There's this person. They may help me. They may hinder me. One of them is the beast. I've got to, basically got to try and piece this all together.
Yeah.
To figure it out, and I'm guessing at some point, either the hinderers or the beast is trying to off whoever else is playing, or at least wake them up or something.
Yeah, there's elements of that. The main sort of overarching thing with the game is, you have got to eliminate something in the town. The characters will either help or hinder you on the way. That's essentially how it will work.
Okay. And so, what is the release for the rest of the minis? There's a few more coming out for the costumes, and then there's
go on, sorry, Nick.
I was just going to say, and then there's going to be a few more of the other characters.
Yeah. So we release over normally 6 codes a month. So within that, we try to fulfill our lines, as it were, within the release schedule. We've gone quite aggressive with Birchwood recently, and we plan to continue that because it's there. When you get to the point where the game's there, the concept's there, the minis are coming, and we can just get it out, we'll look to push Birchwood in the next coming months. But really as well, we really want to concentrate on Elf King because that's there. We want to get, the Thanes out, and we want to get people playing that as well, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I can't give you a definitive date on when the releases for Birchwood will come, but they're coming. I mean, if you check our stuff, we release stuff quite quick. So we don't hold anything back. We don't do marketing for stuff. When it's there, it'll go.
Yeah, understandable. And definitely one of the challenges when you are undertaking 5 different projects, to try and get, an equal amount of releases out or the initial releases, it's definitely a lot of work and a balancing act.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we sort of have a philosophy whereby we just, do it now. We just keep it simple, do it as soon as it's there. And, if it's good product like it is, results follow. And that's I just try and keep it simple in that respect. We like our products, we like what we do, we want to keep doing it. So we just, it doesn't feel like a balancing act as such because we know roughly what we need to do when we need to be doing it. What I found is the decisions are normally simple. It's just enacting them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't feel like a balancing act. It's just a case of, keeping up with releases, doing the stuff, getting the stuff done. So, I mean, the lines just provide a scope to do what we want, essentially, as well. So it's like
right. It gives you a chance to make all the different kinds of games you want to make.
Yeah. That's what it is. So it doesn't feel like a burden because, if anything, it's just a release to do what we want to do, essentially.
Right.
Because,
yeah, totally understandable, and that's awesome. Looking at these, there is some care and love in each one of these. They look good. The ideas are there. Each one has some description about it, and even in the various groups for these, there's a pinned post, or there was a post that you guys put out that was describing the game and a little bit more depth, and the ideas are there. So it is now getting them all there, all out, and even in the few weeks since you launched all the different groups and I came across them. There's been several releases and a few of the different things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we want to take care and attention to everything, and that's important. So we will continue to follow the releases for all of the lines. There may be months where we focus more so on something. There may be months where we don't, and we focus on something else. But they'll all get the care and attention they need, as it were, as if they're like babies. Well, they are in a sense. so
really, really tiny babies.
Yeah, exactly. Savage Core's the fattest of the lot. So we're doing but yeah, it's that's how we'll work it, essentially.
Awesome. Let's see.
So as far as game release goes, obviously you've got all these in development right now. Sure. When should we start expecting to see a lot of the rules?
Yeah.
For some of these hitting the market, because right now you're sitting on 4 new games?
Yeah. So we established Plot Device was probably relatively developed with Savage Core, if that makes sense. So it was being developed with it. So that's taken shape in the same sort of structure. Now we relaunched these 3 new lines, as it were. I think it was 2 weeks ago now. It's like every day seems
Okay.
a week. So it's like, I think it was 2 weeks ago. So we launched these lines. Now, what we want to do is, I personally want to get everything out in 2018. That's what I want to do. That's setting it quite high. But I'm a fan of that. I think it's good to aim high with stuff, and I want to get them all out in 2018, basically. So,
and all I have is the line, "That's a bold move, Cotton."
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, I mean it's
I was
a
leaning
good
more
one.
towards the insanity, but
Well, it's a good thing to set your goal. As long as you know yourselves and your production, then they are to at least have the models sculpted. I'm guessing you have somebody else doing your casting for you.
Yes. So the thing is, like you say, Birchwood's 13 figures, okay, for the game, if that makes sense, for the setting.
Yeah.
We've done 5 of them. Treasures of the Cosmic Vault, we're going to start with 6 independent gladiators, because it's like a permadeath thing, you use your own gladiator. So they're relatively small in relation to miniatures. If we're releasing over 6 codes a month, we want to get this stuff done fast, because there's no reason not to. So those games, I'm confident we can get out. The Elf King's quite a big project in relation to Undertaking, because obviously it's more skirmish wargaming. So there's going to be more, and stuff like that, rather than independent characters. So it will all take work, but the longest thing probably is going to be rules and production of that stuff, rather than the release of the minis.
Yeah,
but we're aiming 2018 for this stuff.
And yeah, it's definitely a great goal, and I'm gonna root you on, because all of these sound fun and interesting in their own ways, their own things. I am looking forward to seeing more come out of the Cosmic Vault, because I like the idea of the gladiator combat, and I want the human that has a monkey. Sounds perfect.
I don't want to let you down now, man.
But there's a lot of flavor that make each of the games their own style. The Beast of Birchwood, it's that kind of creepy horror that you're trying to save the day and you're racing against a clock, and it may or may not get pulled off. You may get you may get hindered. You may despite everything. So they all have that distinct feel.
Yeah.
And so it is like right now it is kind of looking at some of these going, oh, they've got some of this stuff, but I want to see that extra stuff. What? Let's push this story. Where's the next page? Because there's enough there to definitely pique interest.
Sure. I mean, I agree with you. I think like that's it's going back to, do you just hold everything back and release it in one go, or do you just release it as you get it? I see nothing wrong with just releasing the stuff when we get it. Like, if someone wants to paint the stuff as it's going, like, fair play. If they want to do that, that's great. If they want to buy bits, that's great. If they want to, buy a line, if they want to do that, if they want to do this. So, like, I'd like to give them the choice. If people want to hold off and buy everything when it comes out, then that's great as well. But if some people just want bits, just release the stuff and give it to them.
Yeah, no, definitely. And there's a lot of painters out there that are just that. They're painters. They just enjoy painting the miniatures to paint them.
Sure.
With almost no intention to ever play the game. And that's the other
right. They want.
Yeah. So, it is good to get it out there. And, in some ways it can be, hey, I want to play all 5 of these games, but, if they did if you waited until you had everything and released them all at once, I may only be able to choose one of them or, 2 of them, with this, I can kind of go, okay, here's a few starting things, and I can even with my own painting ADD, jump from this miniature in this game to this miniature in that game, and then that miniature in that game, and not feel like I'm behind schedule on getting my stuff painted.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that way there's always stuff there. Like, chat back in a couple of weeks, there'll be more stuff. And we want to build that sense of, you can come to us, it's good product, you can enjoy playing the games and you enjoy painting the minis. It's got to be fun. It's got to be fun.
Right.
We can't take ourselves too seriously in that respect because you lose, the balloon pops at that point. Because if you're too po-faced about it, someone can come across and say something funny and then it all goes, do you know what I mean? So we want to keep it fun. We want to keep the product good and we want to develop good systems. That's what it all comes down to, really.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, you stated it perfectly. You just want to be able to release it when you want to release it. And again, that's the great thing about being independent. You are not tied to like some big company where you need to listen to all these random people. It's like, look, we're going to do what we want to do.
Sure. People
are either going to like it or they're not going to like it. They're going to enjoy it or they're going to move on. And that's fine, but we're going to do it at our pace.
Sure. That I completely agree. And that's, what we strive to do really, because, I agree. It's like we can't appease everyone, so there's no point trying.
Exactly.
It's like we want to do what we want. We want to release what we want, and if you like it, that's fantastic. We love that. If you don't like it, that's fine. Also, we got 5 lines. Choose another one. One of those.
I realized, I was just looking at Uriel again. Sure. From the Cosmic Vault, and it clicked what his style looks like, because I kind of chuckled in my head that every time I see the smaller image of him, because he's wearing that helmet headdress sort of thing that has the spikes out of it, not quite spikes, but it looks a lot like the Statue of Liberty.
Sure.
And so, small, I'm like, wait, why do they have the Statue of Liberty? And then I think of your simians and laugh even more. But, and then, looking at him, he has a very Ray Punk look to him, retro future.
Sure.
And that kind of Flash Gordon-ish vibe for the game, which is the other nice thing is that, everything has its own look and feel.
Completely, Nick. And it's very retro. We didn't just want to do sci-fi. We wanted to do science fantasy because that's more fun for us personally. That's what we like doing. And it's got this sort of 50s, very sleek, slim, streamlined sci-fi stuff because we think that's fun. So it is all stemmed from that. Those sort of influences, and we just thought, why not? It would be cool to have sort of gladiatorial combat in that sense, science fantasy, because it gives you scope to hit each other with a sword as well.
Yeah, that it's definitely awesome.
Yeah, it allows you to have sabers and wrist lasers all in the same game.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, exactly. So that'll all be there. It's just getting stuff out, and we'll make sure we do.
It's not there. Oh well. Yeah. All right. So unfortunately, we are coming up on our time, but I do want to give you a few minutes to go over, or tell people where they can find you. Social media, websites, home address if you really want to. But I wouldn't recommend it. There's some weird people out there.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, you can find all our products on www.lucideyepublications.com or just punch Lucid Eye in on Facebook or Google. We'll be sure to come up. If I were you guys, if you're interested in the stuff we do, I'd check back regularly because we do release stuff quite fast. And if there's any retailers listening, we love retail. If you want to stock our stuff and, have it in your shops, I'm an email away. Contact at lucideyepublications.com. Drop me an email and, we'll work from there. So that's basically all the information. We've got groups on Facebook. Have a little look, join them, and basically, go for all of them.
Awesome. Nice. And you guys don't do Instagram or Twitter and any of that?
No, we got Instagram. I'm actually going to pull it up on my phone to double check the name of it. I've been quite lazy. I've really pumped it into gear recently because I was like, I've got to get people on Instagram now. But it's Lucid Eye Publications on Instagram, funnily enough. Lucid Eye Publications. And Twitter is also Lucid Eye Publish.
Yeah, because Twitter doesn't allow, long names. That's why we're Skirmish Supreme, which I realized the other day as I was getting my kid a Taco Supreme at Taco Bell, that Skirmish Supreme, Taco Supreme.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Sounded great at the time.
It sounded like the easiest one to do, and then I was like, oh, I made myself a taco. Damn it. All right. Hey, Tim, do you have anything?
No, he pretty much covered it all. The only thing I'd have to add in there is you add in more apes in every one of the lines, and I'll pretty much buy everything you have.
Sure. Well, I'll keep that in mind for you, Tim. But yeah.
All right, perfect. Yeah.
I'll bring it back to me. But,
all of your business choices should be made off of my opinion.
Based on it. Yeah.
Monkey, no, needs one. Monkey, no, needs one. Monkey, no, needs one. I mean,
it will brought up in discussion now, so at least it's gotten that far. But yeah, it's honestly, it's been a pleasure chatting to you two as well. And anything in the future you want to do, don't hesitate to drop me a message.
Yeah,
right,
definitely.
You got it.
Yeah, excellent. All right, well, folks, thank you for listening, and that's the end of another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. Have a good evening.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.